important are now alternative revenues? Food delivery, cooking classes, chocolate, wine tasting, open doors, cinemas. And I think, Tammy, you mentioned the one in Melbourne where they put up a big screen on your balcony so you can watch it. How important is that going forward, Sunit? Or Stuart and Charlie, on your perspective as well, because that would impact from a tech perspective, I assume, right?
I think for the delivery, say e-store for the hotels, I think first thing is hoteliers got to do something they never did. You know, they took the restaurants outside of the hotel, so they got some business. That's a new stream. What it becomes will be something for the culinary team and the food and beverage team to develop as a concept. But it has endorsed one thing, that this alternate business will exist. Same thing for cocktail takeaways or the delivery of cocktails. So instead of one for the road, maybe in the hotel bar you will say you want to pack a few to your room. You know? So that is certainly a thing. But it opens another mindset. It will certainly impact maybe some of the hotel designs. You know, with COVID-19, I think the impact will be all the restaurants should have an alternate entrance, because if your main building has been sealed to take isolation business or quarantine business or any kind of thing, can you operate your food and beverage independent and close a door? So it will be and to say it is important, every dollar is important in the circumstances that we are in for 6 to 9 months. And alternate revenue streams have in certain hotels provided close to $1 million in monthly revenue. So we're going to say no to $1 million.
What's been driving that scale? Because that sounds like that's a big number.
Yeah, so some of these restaurants have been very well, subscribed to in the local markets. So for example, in one of our hotels, we have a very established Chinese restaurants which has very good patronage. And when they said we can, bring food to you, there was no limit to the purse, because these were, high value customers. And they say, if you can do this special dumpling for me, if you can do this special noodles for me, and we could kind of charge almost, unlike delivery, because some of the profits have to be shared. Pricing wise, we did not have to compromise in terms of what we were charging for in-house dining versus to deliver. The patronage was happy to pay. So, and there was lack of food and beverage restaurants because, roster of restaurants shut down in Singapore in the last 3 to 4 months. So, and we have seen a little bit decline since last week when the restaurants started to come up, because customers now have options. So they came to the trusted, and it was a value proposition, right? High quality coming from a hotel kitchen at a good, affordable price. And kudos to the marketing team, kudos to everybody who kind of put very quickly on our brand website to take it forward, and it just moved fast, I guess. That was one of the things that turned in our favor.
Sunit, you said something, you think that this will impact the design of hotels. I'm always interested by this in the Asian market. In Japan, you very rarely see reception on the ground floor. It's normally on the first floor or above, and downstairs is the retail, street-facing stuff. Do you think it'll impact the design of hotels? Is that what I heard you say?
I think so, because if you look at the fight for the next 6 to 7 months, or immediate 3 months, if the main building has isolation business, which is very common in Singapore, in hotels in Singapore, it is also widely available in hotels in Australia, that at least the ones we operate. To get that alternate revenue, we have to have these food and beverage outlets accessible through a non-room area, right? So if I can isolate a lift, you can cordon off an area, then you can go to the approving authorities, invite them for inspection, and say, look, this is how I will isolate this area. So the patrons who are coming into my restaurant will not be interacting, or will not be, prone to anybody who is staying in my hotel, because I can isolate them, I can cordon that area off, and that may impact, like if the lobby and everything is here, maybe the rest podium level. So in a mixed development, it is very easily available. It is achievable. But in a pure hotel, I think it will make so much better money, because it will also open your restaurant to the street level footfall that happens, right? So there are current existing examples who benefit from them. But if there is some smart technical design teams out there, they will certainly start incorporating part of it in overall design, whether it is within the hotel, isolating the guest lift versus the other accessible area lift or access points.
Is there an opportunity? Because when you think about everyone starting to use their space in a different way, whether it's like Fabian was talking about, cooking classes, cocktail classes, all of this can only be driven direct. So is this an opportunity for hotels to switch the
massive opportunity for direct? Yes. There's no question, right? The level of reassurance that people want is higher than ever before. There's so many more unanswered questions than before. And that means that the hotel website, which ordinarily are 2/3 of OTA bookers, so 2/3 of booking.com bookers will have been to the hotel website. So ordinarily that was high, but that's going to go up. And the amount of engagement and time being spent on the hotel website per booking goes up. So like never before, hotels have this opportunity to like convert the direct relationship. And I think that opportunity is there. And the risk, however, the risk is that in the desperation to just fill rooms, hotels obviously want to turn on the OTA tap as much as possible. And so the risk is that, as with previous downturns, hotels cut back on marketing spend, cut back on putting their own efforts in, and want to just like pay commissions when they get bookings. But the opportunity, like never before, is to make sure you really got your conversion rate optimized on your website, because there will be more of your guests turning up there than ever before.
But can I just butt in? If we're exploring all these new revenue streams, we need the technology to back it up and to be able to book it. Because I've searched for ages for a conference and event system that we can put on our website that is part of our PMS for our rooms, and we can book a conference room for an hour, or we can book a bedroom and a conference room all in one reservation, because we have all these bits of systems that none of them talk to each other. So if we're going to go down this route of escape rooms and stay like a few hours in a conference room and a cocktail making class, we need to be able to book it.
Yes, I know there's some of the booking engines are working on trying to like change what they do from being room first, room only. So I know Sabus and X is an example of that. They're pushing ahead with you could be able to sell anything. Is the vision. I guess my suspicion is for the next year or so. In fact, you probably still need plugins of other bits of tech that can achieve that. And I'm afraid I'm no expert on what the technology is for the best conference or escape room selling stuff.
Yeah.
Yvonne, you seem to be with us again now.
I know. I'm mortified. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all right. Maybe you could tell us a little bit of the background of the escape rooms and how it's worked for you.
Yeah. So we're obviously a hotel, and we're situated with a lot of brand hotels. So although we're part of the Best Western brand, we've got lots of Hiltons and things like that around us. So we try to stand out. And we were looking for the next big thing or something a little bit different. And escape rooms just came to mind. So we did a little bit of research with our competitors who are always looking for team building. And that's probably the avenue that we've gone down. So although we do standalone escape room bookings, so 2, 4, 6, if you can come and do the escape rooms, it was about having something to bring the conference here, having something different for them to come and stay overnight and have dinner and do the escape rooms. Our first booking was worth £12,500 to the hotel. So for us, it wasn't just about £100 escape room. It was about the on spend that could bring. Although the escape rooms on their own, we worked them out at an ARR and a revenue per available room, and they were making their own even without the conference business. So it was just something to bring people here.
So who sold that piece of business? Sales, or could you sell it without it?
If I'm going to be a little bit big-headed, is the first piece of business was actually mine.
Really? So in essence, sales relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, that person came to me because of relationship building. And then our biggest corporate contract in various departments used us because of word of mouth. And then our sales manager went out and got us the business and said, look what we've got. This is something different. And it, you know, people were just looking for something different at that time.
I love a good escape game. So much fun.
Have you done a few?
Oh, about 20 with my kids. We have the record in one place we went to.
Oh,
It's
nice.
yeah, just we got a bit obsessed at one point. So everywhere we ever went, my children were like, "Where can we go? Which has the great escape rooms?"
Yeah. Well, when we this was all a secret before we started, so I too kept doing them with my children, and now my daughter goes off and does them herself with her friends. So
Yeah, they're good.
And they were
How
bedrooms
complicated? How
before
hard
you
was
got
it?
Right?
sorry.
You go, Charlie.
I was going to say, how hard was it to put that together, having never done it before, to actually go build one in a room?
Yeah, we worked with another company who are number one in the UK. So my owner is very technical. The owner of the hotel is very technical. So he did the build. We have a futuristic spaceship one, which is just phenomenal. Out of this world is the true saying. And then we have a 1930s theatre based on Houdini. So he built this and did an amazing job. And then the escape room company that we worked with, they came and they did all the puzzles. Because that's the technical bit, is the puzzles and the mindset that A goes to B to C, and just to keep people gripped for that 60 minutes.
And so do you sell it as a bedroom package as well, Yvonne?
We do, yeah. So we call it, we call it a sort of an escape away or whatever. So you can do a one night package, including dinner in our Marco Pier White and one escape room, or you can do a 2-night package and do both the escape rooms. We also package it up with spa breaks. So if they want to maybe do the exciting escape room on the Friday night and then relax and do the spa package on the Saturday, they can do that. So we mix it up quite a lot, to be honest.
And how important has that been amongst your competitive set? Because like you say, you've got all the branded sort of hotels because the East Midland Airport is so close. How important has that been amongst that comp set?
Yeah, I think it's, one of the benefits of being, an independent hotel and the flexibility that Best Western gives us is that we didn't have to go to a head office and submit a business plan. And, we did the numbers ourselves. We number crunched ourselves and decided it was the right thing to do, and just went ahead and did it. And, that's the flexibility that we've got by being independent.
Can you safely distance inside them?
No, but you can come in your bubble. You can come in your bubble, definitely.
Oh yeah, in the bubble.
In your bubble. Brilliant. For now. We're opening our restaurant on Saturday, and we probably won't do the escape rooms for a month. We probably give it a month because people are just unsure still.
Escape rooms.
Absolutely, and a lot of things to sanitize afterwards,
which will, of course,
get our table up.
Do you think hotels will go to their own experiences to kind of still keep people in-house? Because the integrated resort sounds pretty scary to me, right?
Why does it sound scary?
Because of, depending on where it is in which country, of course. But it's just this, I think people are still in this tentative space of, I kind of want to be close to people again, but yet if I have the chance, I kind of stay a little bit on a safe distance, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you just test and you walk to somebody up the street and stand shoulder to shoulder with them, they're going to look at you a bit strange and kind of go like, what do you think you're doing? Right?
I think you're right, Fabian. We've worked all the way through this. So we've been one of the open hotels all the way through. And I suppose if you're open, you do get a little bit more comfortable. But today, a customer patted me on the back to say thank you. And I flinched away. We're just not there yet.
Wouldn't have done that.
Who wouldn't have done?
Stuart and his sales team.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. I was making notes throughout all that. I think that the escape rooms are fantastic, Yvonne. I saw them on telly, and again, it's back to adding value. But what we've all talked about there with drive-ins and escape rooms, it's about personality, isn't it? It's about the personality of the products. And I think if you've got a personality of product and something different, and we're talking about what you touched on there, Fabian, in terms of how you're going to negotiate that, you need somebody out there spreading that message for you. A website can't really do that at the moment.
No.
So many times we're talking about going back to basics because we can't get our normal stuff right? We can't get our booking process right. We can't get our services a lot of times right. We can get so many different things wrong, and now we want to add all of those fancy little things on there. Aren't we setting ourselves up for failure? And instead, we should say, you know what? Let's take a step back. Or let me ask you even, if you built how the escape rooms?
Pardon? We built what? What was the last bit?
The escape rooms. How long ago did you build them?
They were finished in August last year.
Okay. If you had to start building them now, would you?
Oh, no. Absolutely not. Not with COVID-19, no.
I think that's
space did you convert in the hotel?
It was fantastic. So we had a cupboard that was a storeroom for 6-foot round tables, and we had a bedroom that was our last let bedroom. And we chose those two because they were straight opposite each other. So the bedroom is a very noisy bedroom. It backs onto public toilets, not directly, but the back of it. And the other one was a storeroom. So, the storeroom didn't have to make any money. The bedroom, we literally took our average annual occupancy, which was 72%, and our average room rate, and that's how much we needed to make a day. That's how we worked it out.
And do you?
Easily is the answer. If we sell that room at 72% occupancy, that means we sell that room 260 odd nights of the year. 260 odd nights of the year means we make about £16,500 for that bedroom. Our first year budget for the escape rooms were nearly 80. So it was no £80,000.
That's it. Hotels around the world becoming escape game hotels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all that £80,000 is just escape room revenue. On top of that, we get bedroom revenue, we get conference revenue, we get dinner revenue. So, that's something that you don't necessarily can put an exact price on because you don't know whether they were going to come for that overnight anyway. But we definitely know some of the business was never going to come for it.
And how do you control the business? How do you control the bookings?
So there is a system that escape room owners use there's a few, but there's something called Escape Games Global, which people they can go on the website, they book online, it comes through to us, it generates an email to let us know, but it just goes into the system. So if we take a conference booking and we want them to have the escape rooms at 4 o'clock and then 2 more at 5 o'clock, we just put them in that system so it can't be sold online.
So Stuart, that's just booking it online. There's no salesperson.
Sure. It was a very good point. I could see you teeing it up. But ultimately, I think when you go out, you talk about your existing clients, Yvonne. I think they're using it already, and that's relationships that probably your sales manager owns.
And I think you're right, Stuart, because, those people come to us for, one of ours is a freight company. They're going to send their pilots to stay here, and they're going to do a little bit of training here. But they're not going to necessarily do a team build here. They've never done a team build here. So for them to do a team build was something very different. It was a piece of business we never had before. And before we know it, 6 different departments of that company have been and used the escape rooms. And that is relationship building. Without us having a relationship with that client, they wouldn't have even known we were here, really. So sales is.
So Nate, how I wanted to ask you a question because you an interesting point last week in regards to other revenue in your hotels. Because we were talking about people essentially being stuck in his hotel for 2 weeks, and he told me about people running a marathon on the same place, right? Because they were in cuckoo within 2 weeks, right? But what was is that you said you're making a lot of money on other in-between meals upsells.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean,
But what caught my eye, or what got me interested, is that you said we actually only made it slightly more expensive than a supermarket, which goes completely against how we normally price our food and beverage in hotels, right?
Yeah.
Is this going to be a trend? Are we going to see the renaissance of hotel restaurants?
I think there are two things, right? So one is a short term and what becomes a long term stickable trend or something that hotel industry can kind of sustain and follow. So what this business has taught us, because it came with room, a fixed price from the government, and a fixed package to provide the customers who were staying with us with 3 meals a day at least, and laundry at times. So these people, I mean, like us, they want to snack, right? In between, they're not allowed to go out of the room. So we had to provide some, and they're not somebody who is, by choice staying in a hotel, meaning has enough spare money, to go and spend on luxury or indulgence, so to speak. So we have to price something, or they will ask us, can you arrange a delivery for me to, get me some food from the outside? So why give the money to Deliveroo, and we know what kind of profits they take from our restaurants. So we created these in-house menus, which were very well subscribed, and it could be things like, a muffin and then a sausage roll. In one of our hotels, we work with somebody to get a food trucks. So on the roadside, you can sell a muffin or a sausage roll, and in the morning you have office crowd picking that up. If there's a space, you can put a food truck and it will be subscribed. So that alternate revenue come. But in Australia, we also got demand for, no, I don't have a bottle shop to go, but I want my alcohol. So can you arrange alcohol for us? So we went from, instead of, those miniature bottles and standard can of beers in the mini bars, to sourcing literally, pint size or, whatever that measure is called, smaller bottle packing, and just giving them at whatever our sourcing price plus X%, because they were happy to pay that much. But other than that, they will get aggressive. You are misusing my situation. I'm confined here. I cannot leave. So that became an alternate revenue. So what will become, at least for the 6 months, or maybe the trend for future because of the social distancing, is you will see more and more hotels bringing restaurants to room, meaning in-room dining, although it will not be a luxury experience where you have somebody, setting up the trolley, making everything look pretty, but the room service menu will certainly go for a change. And they will remain fresh. Like we were having discussion with some of our Singapore hotels who have this e-shop. Hey, we have not seen your menu change. Yes, we are working on the new dishes. So these e-menus also give you flexibility to keep your menu fresh, seasonal, based on the produce you are buying. So that will be certainly something bigger. So in-room dining will certainly, at least for the 6-7 months, get bigger share of revenue, which in some of the geolocations was almost a forgotten stream of revenue. So
you also have a butcher, right?
Yeah, so butcher is just unique to one of our hotels. So in Pan Pacific Singapore, we have always run this butchery since, at least for the 12-14 years that I've been part of this company, I've seen this. It is an independent run butchery within the hotel. We have within our so-called delicatessen counter, a counter which sells nicely packaged things. We also sell it to our sister hotels within Singapore and a supermarket. So that does a good couple of $1 million or more business annually. So and that is something, if was part of an old thing, but there is always meat that we buy for our expensive restaurants. We can easily market it because we are not using trimmings, so to speak, to make our sausages. Fabian has to vouch for it because he had a taste of some
yes,
this weekend.
I had some for my birthday. Awesome.
So it's alternate use of manpower, because one of the most expensive things to shut down and restart in a hotel is kitchen. You have to get rid of all the items that are in the cold storage, all the perishables, your contracts with the contractors. You shut down the kitchen, the firing up of cooking ranges and everything, and blast freezers and everything. A very expensive exercise compared to maintaining room where your primary cost will be just running the aircon or a chiller plant in countries where humidity is a challenge. So I think it's an encouraging time where, food and beverage in hotel industry was kind of slowing down. One of the best example was in Perth. We created a Mother's Day high tea. It's one of the biggest takeaway items which people order, that you can take away a high tea, which is very nicely packaged, and it's something that got us a lot of social media coverage and things like this. So a lot of learning things. What will become the final sticky thing? I think it will sort itself out in 6 months as the people preferences change. They will actually start using certain facilities in the hotel. The lifestyle of the hotel will change, at least for the coming 2 years. That's what I think.
Will we need to shift our minds to something around how do we create hospitality at home? Because in the UK, our Mother's Day lunch was crazy. I mean, absolutely 4 or 5 seatings. Then the Christmas parties before Christmas. Crazy. Sunday lunch, Sunday
brunch.
Roast in a lot of locations, absolutely fantastic. Is there a new industry that will essentially cater hospitality at home? And just like Rob and I started cooking right now, that you can order the raw ingredients and send them home, right? Is that something that we need to be mindful of in the future? Is there a direction where people say, actually, I really love your hotel, but I don't really want to come? Can you come to me? Don't rush all at once for that question.
In my opinion, eventually the food operators will also catch up to it, right? But yes, if there are certain restaurants which are very well subscribed, in a particular city, and you can certainly bring it to the customer, it can become an alternate revenue. But will it be, like a 60-40 contributing segment where 60% comes from direct restaurant itself and 40% from delivery? I don't think so. I think independent food offerings and outlets which can be very successful will catch up. What stops them from doing exactly the same thing? I mean, we have examples today. There are bars who are delivering packed cocktails. So that's my opinion. I don't think it will be a substantial, but it will become an ancillary branch for hotels. Yes.
I think.
Sorry, you go, Yvonne.
I think Sunit's correct as it depends on the location. I think what lockdown has taught us is that there are areas where city centres and busy built up areas where you can, no matter what's happening in this country, you can get any food you want at any time. But there are lots of village locations around us where you couldn't even get a simple takeaway. And it's those hoteliers that need to think, hang on a minute, could I continue doing this after lockdown? Is this a market for me where I can add this onto my usual business? Because if there's nothing else out there, then why should it not be your USP that you can add on?
Yeah, it spawns opportunity, doesn't it? A crisis. But a quick question for you, Sunit. I was talking to somebody last week who was talking about taking their groundstairs space, converting it into temporary office space, so taking all the bedrooms out, and then putting storage in the car parking. And what he's trying to cater to is to the eBay, the Amazon type of business that sets up, that needs a lot of storage, and that's how he's thinking about getting his revenue for the next sort of 6 to 12 months. Do you think that, given your success in F&B or alternative revenues, do you think that there's now a chance that we'll see a reshifting of the balance of, will more hoteliers take their business offline as bedrooms and convert it to something else, whether it's office space, storage, F&B? Do you see that as a trend going forward?
I don't see it as a trend because I mean we have to decide ultimately what you want to be. So you have to keep bigger portion as a hotel as an offering that you survive to. Alternate space. If I have to make a decision, I will say, okay, how quickly can I turn it back if the demand comes back, right? And can I move them out if there is an odd day? So if it is a business that is totally flexible in today, out tomorrow, and very mobile, if the real demand comes, because hoteliers will like to keep it a hotel, right? If it's a banquet space and there is a wedding that comes in, or any other kind of catering business, you want that space because, like everybody's saying for last 3 months, it's going to be like 1,500 hotels opening at same time. So there will be 100 more standing in the line to catch that business, and you don't want that. So a proportionate mix, like with escape rooms, you have a few, you have a choice, you have an alternative option available for your customers. But to exhaust the inventory, no. I mean, in my lifetime, what I have seen is Yangon as a market in Myanmar went through a couple of life cycles. So we instead of and in the initial infrastructure development phase, there was lack of quality office space. So we actually took some of the floor and converted them to office rental, but didn't disturb the overall architecture of the room, right? So they were still independent rooms. We just gutted every other things out, and it was just a toilet and an empty space that somebody can take. And there were a couple of interconnecting rooms they can do. So we broke a few walls, we gave them the office. But when the demand comes, it took us literally 2 months to convert everything back to the guest room. So if that is the plan, as a percentage of inventory, what I started with, excellent. But measure the demand if it exists. We had very good data with us that there's a lack of quality office spaces, right? So those kind of alternate use to me are more sustainable because you can sustain for a long time instead of 3-4 months later you're again thinking what to do because the eBays and the Amazons move out. So to keep it soft instead of hard conversions.
Yeah.
Smaller operators into Temi, because that's where essentially your playground is, right? So that's all great, and you have the capex, you have a big company behind it, you've got the brand behind you, but let's face it, a lot of hotels in the industry don't have that luxury, right?
No.
They are most probably not in a prime location. And B, they just don't have the firing power, right? Because it's a husband and wife or family or whatever business might be. Is that then, are you destined to join a brand like Best Western, for example? Or are you able to do something on your own, or you should just focus on what you did beforehand and just erase COVID from your mind?
So for a lot of mine, they leave the brands because they're disillusioned. So they're leaving Choice, Best Western, all those sort of brands because they're disillusioned. They're not getting any value for money. They're not getting the support because they're just a small franchise in a small town in regional Australia or New Zealand. So they leave. So no, they're not looking to join back in. And yes, every 6 months to a year, some brand sales manager does rock up at the door and go, hey, come and join us. But they can't see the value for money there. They are more looking at where they can spend their very small amount of money to refurbish or to modernize their rooms. So they're looking at, especially over COVID, painting their rooms, doing little small changes, but they can't look at putting in an escape room. And quite honestly, do you need an escape room in a town that has 500 residents, but all their workers are gas workers and they just come and go? They're looking menus, restaurants, that needs to change, and that's where they're looking at how and what they can do in the restaurant. Even to the point, I was talking to one owner the other day, and it's like, well, how can you do a grab and go breakfast that is not a muesli bar? Like, what can you do in the way of maybe a bacon and egg wrap or something that's a bit different, but that your worker can pick up and take with them? And it's just, for them, it's really trying to get them to think outside the box when they've got that much money to spend. Because no, they don't have Sunit's data.
No, but I'm more excited about the how it will shape the design and thought process of new hotels to open, right? What provisions you can make to kind of capture these trickles and drops of alternate revenue, because as Jamie said, some locations might be a perfect fit, and if you go with the right product and you're the only one in the market, you can really kind of make some serious money out of it. So it's just gave us that opportunity of thinking out of the box with some tested concepts that everybody has tried, got their hands dirty, and has some sweet memories to take away, plus the money that it made to say, yes, I can do it. So, most of the time we say, oh, before it reaches to the owner, somebody kills it on the way, said, no, it's not going to work, just kill it. So now we have done a few.
So if I now bring that all together, right, and say, okay, what does the future actually hold with people wanting to essentially, they want to upgrade or spend less in their properties, they want to get technology, they want to hire people, right? And combining that a little bit together to sum up the conversation, starting with you, Stuart, are we going to see, or let me ask you two questions here, they're kind of interlinked. A, will sales managers start selling differently? Right? Besides the coffee and the other stuff. And B, we're going to see an emergence of rent-a-sales or rent-a-salesperson.
I missed the second part, Fabian. We're going to see an emergence
The second part is all about, with coming into a time right now where you might not have enough work for a full-timer, but you want to have part-timers. Will we see something like a rent a steward for a day? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm open to it.
But that goes completely, and I know I talked to Rob about that before, right? But that goes completely against the relationship type, right? Because if your relationship is in London and Rob calls you and says, I need help in Glasgow, the sales manager is essentially not a lot of help, is it?
No, well, to bring back to the first point, collaborative sales, not hard sales, collaborative sales, adding value. Everything we've discussed today is about adding value, really. We've done escape rooms to add value, we've gone out with delivery to add value. It's all about adding value. And I think the second part of that, we've had conversations about asset managing everything we do. And we're actually forming a second company that is, in essence, an asset management of my skills and my team's skills. And I think that's possibly something that might move with a bit more pace now. Yeah, absolutely. And the relationship management, does it need a quantified time? I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's a big question that deserves a big answer, but I think it's a wait and see. But certainly, in terms to answer the question, collaborative sales and an asset management of your own skill set, that's where we're heading.
Okay. Sunit, Tammy, Yvonne?
I would say I'm getting more inquiries from hotels looking at the fact that they want services, but they can't recruit 40 hours a week because they can't afford it, or they are in an area where they can't locate those services, but for a lot it's they can't afford it. So they're looking at the fact that if they outsource, they can outsource for 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, and if the next week they can change the numbers. It's a lot more flexibility when they outsource it, whereas if you recruit a staff member, you've got to pay them according to contracts and all these sorts of things. And by outsourcing, they get someone coming in with far more skills than they can possibly afford to pay. So I'm getting more inquiries, especially people that are looking at the fact that they're going to be quiet for the next year and they only need a few hours a week here and there.
For us, sales is going to be different going forward. I don't, agent visits are going to deplete. companies won't want to have as many meetings with us, so those might be done in calls like this, hopefully with better technology than me. But I think we will be reducing the amount of hours that we can almost afford to go out to make sales, which is a bit contradictory because, sales bring in revenue. But if we were a £5 million business and we're going to be a £3 million business, we need to reflect that in the cost of our sales team. So outsourcing is something we would definitely consider. Part-time is something that we would definitely consider going forward, without a doubt.
Sunil?
I'm actually a bit traditionalist on this part because, yes, I think what COVID has done is given everybody in the company a very contrasting look at where the cost centers are and where the revenue come from. So what is the correlation of these cost centers to the overall revenue, right? While technology and everything changed, right, the relationship, the person on the other side of relationship is exactly the same person. He or she has not changed. They will, and we are in a stage where, we have 1,500 hotels opening at the same time. And if everybody is technology dependent and there is one person who walks in with a muffin and cupcakes into the office, I think there is still a potential for somebody to win that person to win the deal better than technology. So that is where my traditional side comes. But I do agree that sales team members need to upskill by learning about a lot of things, especially in terms of how distribution technology has evolved over the last 2 years, importantly over the last 2 months, and how is it going to evolve in the coming 3 months, because no rate is online, offline, opaque, non-opaque. You put it out, it will make its way to the places that you don't want it to be. And they just need to understand that, right? So, and if we in the revenue are educated ones, then it is also our responsibility to educate that team back. So my vote is still that yes, bigger or smaller, that size is yet to be decided because it's a more financial number game. But I think the sales team will stay, and the skill and relationship will have to be sustained a bit.
Cool. Final words, Rob, from a master perspective.
I think it's been really interesting. I'm a traditionalist, and I think definitely the market is going to continue to be contracted over the foreseeable future. So everyone has to look at their cost lines, but I still think that a relationship will drive conversion for a hotel or for whatever the business might be. I think people still buy people, and I don't think that's changed. They do a lot more research online, but they still buy people. So I'm very much a traditionalist, and I think the future of sales is not outsourcing. I think it's insourcing, remaining that way, but certainly there's a contraction over the next 6 months. What are your thoughts, Fabian?
A bit of both. I think you need less salespeople, but you need more hardcore ones, right? We all know there's that live and breathe sales that have those relationships that can take you over years, but they equally know their way around, how do you call that? Technology, right? But they use technology to their advantage. And I honestly think, why wouldn't you want to have a sales for hire, right? Because we always make the mistake that we're blatantly saying a revenue manager is better than a marketing person. A salesperson is better than a revenue person, whatever it might be, right? But what we're forgetting is that each of those at different parts of the games are better at what they're doing. I would never send my revenue manager out there to do a negotiation into coffee, because that would be a really awkward coffee, most probably. But could be, right? I'm just guessing here. So the same is in sales. In simple view, you have the farming and the hunting, right? If you just want to get out there and knock on doors and get your stuff out there, I would get one of those sales staff that have that personality larger than life, and then just kind of like a Trump going out there, right? And just literally knocking on those doors, getting people in, and fulfilling what they were hired to fulfill. So it's not like, hey, Stuart, I wanna have a long relationship with you, but it's more in Tinder terms, I want to have that weekend with you, right? And that's it. And then afterwards, you go where you go, I go where I go, right? And then you go to somebody else.
I agree.
That person at this point in time suits you better. And that can be at a strategic point of view. It can be if I'm just saying, you know what, now that I have this escape rooms and I can't use them, let's say for the next 6 to 12 months because of COVID, right? I need somebody who can help me revamp that and turn that into something else that I can use now, right? And I take that person for a week and a half, and that's about it. And then I gotta get somebody like Tammy and Sunil to crunch the numbers to make it all work, and then I get Stuart to just go and get them, right? And I think we're gonna see a lot of this, and I always come back to the people who never wanted to order food online are now ordering food online because otherwise they wouldn't get food, right? Very straightforward. So those people are now way more open to using technology and using different items or different way, right? And in this term, for me, it's the freelancing part, the consultancy part of it. And when I get 5, 6 messages from people saying, you know what, I'm thinking of starting my own business right now, right? And I kind of go, this is the perfect time for you, but don't be mistaken, right? It's not easy. You're going to go from sugar rush to depression within minutes, right? But it's kind of like the gig economy that we always talked about is now finally rushing through it, where you have core team members that you fall back on. And I think we talked about it last time, Rob. It's this IP that you want to keep internally, but then you just plug in on the outside whatever you need. And just like everywhere else, you have a good relationship with that person. They did their job fantastic. You get them in whenever you need that specialty. And then somebody like a Stuart, somebody like a Tammy, or even Rob, Sunit, Yvonne, me, could have 50, 60 clients on our fingers, and all we do is doing 4 hours of work here, 10 hours of work here, a week over there, and then really driving the economy forward like that. But I think we have a fantastic opportunity. The only thing that we can do is just shoot ourselves in the foot once over. I think it's way more important that we keep on telling people that hospitality is an amazing place to work for, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's a big danger for us. That people just say, well, why do I want to do that? Especially sales, considering that.
Who is going to make the first proposal? Is it the hotel? Who is going to tell the customer, to the sales manager, that you work 4 hours for me? Or is it somebody in the sales manager say, I can work 4 hours for you, 4 hours for you, 4 hours for you, and you can...
Like somebody like Stuart going for coffee and having 3 guys doing his job, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna set the company up today. I'll send you an email, Rob. We can do something here.
Rent a Stuart for the weekend.
Jubei.
Brilliant.
Good. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
What's your finished product?
Yeah.
Hey, come on now.
Wow.
What was it you cooked? Oh.
What are they? Hey, good job. Roti and chicken fritters.
Taste test. What are they like?
Oh, I don't know if I should.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Are you going to try one? Fabian?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe that might have been. Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Chicken fritters. Very good.
Okay, you've
Here's the recipe.
Very much the recipe.
We'll share the recipe.